Pokemon Nuzlockes have the specialty of being unique. No two Nuzlockes are ever the same, making every playthrough fresh and exciting. If you're watching this and you have no idea what a Nuzlocke is, it is Pokemon but with two simple rules. If your Pokemon dies, it's gone forever, and if your entire team dies in battle, your playthrough or run is over. This is the core of Nuzlockes, and combined with the harder game and stricter rules, it can be very, very challenging. I decided to complete a hardcore Nuzlocke of Fire Red Omega, a classic and popular harder version of the original Fire Red. The rules are as followed: if a Pokemon dies, it's gone forever. If my entire team dies, I lose the run and it's game over. Only one Pokemon can be caught or obtained per location. I must nickname all my Pokemon. Battles must be played in set mode, and I cannot use items in battle. Now take note, I ain't no Peachel or Flygon HG. I'm Waterbird, and I drive a 2023 Chevrolet Camaro. This is the story of how I completed Fire Red Omega. Let's get right into it. In Pokemon Fire Red Omega, instead of the three traditional starters of Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur, the creator changed it to Smoochum, Elekid, and Magby. I assumed this was to make it more difficult, so I picked Elekid, which is my favorite of the three. One thing I took note of too when picking the starter is that Elekid actually has Volt Absorb in this game, an ability which makes him immune to electric and heals him if he does get hit by an electric move. This can come in handy during mini fights, especially with Lieutenant Surge and Misty. We get into our first rival fight and we quick attack to smooch him to death, and then we head up to Vermilion City, grab Oak's Parcel, and then head right back down to Pallet Town. Now, the Nuzlocke begins. We immediately head up to Route 1 and catch a Pidgey named Raptor. Heading back to Vermilion City, I immediately go for the Route 22 encounter, and we encounter a Rattata. We head up to Route 2 and we find one of Oak's assistants. This is a new type of aid added in Fire Red Omega that gives you a Gen 3 starter, but it's random. I take my chances and I get a Mudkip, my favorite starter of Gen 3. We name it Slay and we move on to Viridian Forest, where we catch an Oddish. This is amazing. A water and grass combo makes the first gym pretty easy. But of course, this is Fire Red Omega, so we need that first gym to be as easy as it can be. At the end of the forest, we take down our first real trainer battle, Bugcaster Sammy. One thing to note about Fire Red Omega is that all the trainers have different Pokemon and movesets, and some of them can be very annoying. If you go in unprepared or slacking, you could easily lose one or two Pokemon. We get to Pewter City and we catch Kitty the Skitty, which completes our Brock lineup. In this game, Brock has 6 full Pokemon, as do all the gym leaders, and they are brutal. Brock is the first test to your strength, with a Vulpix that has Confuse Ray and Hypnosis to put you asleep and confuse you, along with an Onix who is near indestructible. That's not to say that the rest of his team is free, because if you let them, they can easily end your run. It's time to prove our strength. We pull up the Brock with the Glock and we pull the trigger, firing at a Mudkip. He sends out his Geodude and it's game on. Slay immediately uses Water Gun, knocking out the Geodude in one hit. Brock then sends out his Kabuto, which I know has Absorb, so I have to switch. We get a free switch on the Radish as Kabuto misses his Rock Tomb. And now, the fun begins. Radish fires off an Absorb, one hit killing the Kabuto. Rhydon is next, who comes in and costs Brock a Super Potion as he goes down to 2 Absorbs. Next is Vulpix, a direct counter to Oddish, so obviously instead of switching, I click Absorb. Staring at the health bar go down very little, I realize I need to lock in if I'm going to win this. I switch back to Slay, taking the Ember that would have killed Oddish. After 2 Water Guns, Vulpix falls, and out comes Omniknight. I stay in with Slay for a little chip damage, but after losing half my HP to a Rock Tomb, I realize I need to switch out. Radish comes back in for free once again due to a Protect, and eventually takes out the Omniknight who decides to keep spamming Protect. Brock sends out his last Pokemon, the scary Onix. He goes for a Swagger, confusing my Radish. And of course, Radish hits himself in confusion. The next turn isn't any better as Onix uses Dig, making Radish's attack miss. I stay in and Onix comes back up, doing massive damage to my Radish and putting him in a red bar. If Radish hits himself for confusion one more time, he's gone and dead forever. But as I believed he would, Radish clutched it out and hit Onix with an Absorb, taking a good chunk of health. Onix's Citrus Berry procs, and I have to switch out knowing a crit could kill me. I switch in Rat, who you may notice is burnt. This was done intentionally by me before the fight as Rattata's ability is Guts, an ability that raises your Pokemon attack stat by 50% if they are affected by a status condition. Unfortunately, Onix goes for another Dig, lowering my Rat's health near red and forcing me to switch out again. I send in Kitty who takes a hit and her ability procs a Charm on Onix, but unfortunately my luck goes bad and Onix still gets a Dig off. This is the horrifying Onix that I was speaking about earlier. I make a tough decision and realize that I can't keep switching in my cores to Digs or they're all gonna die and my run will end here. I keep Kitty in and she takes a Dig, and I watch her health bar go to 0. Feeling devastated, I can't let Kitty's death be for nothing. I send in Slay, who's ready to get revenge. Onyx uses Swagger, but Slay doesn't care as the water gun still comes out, killing Onyx, and earning us our first badge. We beat the first major battle of his gauntlet, but the run is far from over. We head over to Route 3, and the trainers here are a breeze as the level caps have raised and 4 of our Pokemon evolved. I'm happy with our team's power spike because after Brock, the game only gets harder. We catch an Electrolyte on this route, and then we head into Mount Moon. For my encounter here, I go to the first floor of the basement, hoping for an Aeron or a Bagon. But we end up with a Slugma, which is okay, because now I have a fire type for Erika. We progress to Mount Moon, breezing through every trainer and picking up a Helix fossil. We get to Route 4 and catch some Ekans, and now it's time for Cerulean City. There are 2 major battles here, the Rival and Misty. I decide to take on the Rival first, as I can get more encounters above him. Also, when it comes to encounters, if you've been paying attention, you may have noticed I never grabbed the Vermilion City encounter. This is not because I intentionally skipped it like I do with some routes, it's because I straight up forgot about it, along with the old rod. I realized this in Cerulean City, but it's too late to go back, so I decided to go back for it later and risk it all. We start the Rival battle, leading Yuna against Golbat. We Thunder Punch him twice, knocking him out. Next comes an Abra who suffers the fate of 2 Thunder Punches, which forces in his starter, the Smoochum. I switch to Mudkip for some chip damage, but get hit by 2 Ice Punches, forcing me to switch again. I send in the Big Rat, who hits Smoochum with the Hyper Fang and knocks him out in 1 hit. That is the power of Guts. Snowball comes in, but can't do anything, as Rat kills him with 2 Hyper Fangs and the battle is over. I feel accomplished. I head north, defeating every trainer on the bridge with ease. I go up to Route 25 and we catch a Tallow, which is big, because it also has Guts. We skip the encounter for Route 24 for now, because I want to go fishing for a Horsey or a Gyarados later. After saving Bill from becoming a Pokemon, we're on to Misty. Misty's team in my opinion is way worse than Brock. And that's not worse as in it's bad, it's horrifying. Every single Pokemon on her team has Water Pulse, a move that has a 20% chance to confuse you, but in this game it feels like 100%. She's a Love Disc with Attract, so if you're confused and she attracts you, good luck ever hitting the thing. And then of course her ace, Starmie, who holds a Sister Berry and has Recover, so if you can't kill it fast enough, it will wipe your entire team. Anything can go wrong in this fight, even if you have the best team in the world. I lock my team in and we head up to Misty, determined to get this badge. I lead with Radish, hoping he would carry like he did with Brock. He goes for a Mega Drain and knocks out Staryu in 1 hit, 1 down. Next comes in Psyduck, who I throw another Absorb at, and to my surprise it crits, knocking him out in 1 hit. Cedar makes an appearance and throws a Dragon Rage, but Radish heals with Mega Drain. Misty goes for a Super Potion, but Radish does not care. As a few Mega Drains later, Cedar goes down. Love Disc comes in, going back and forth with Radish, but in the end, it falls, even after getting the tracked off. Radish is doing it. Misty then sends out her Togetic, who decides to spam Metronome, an annoying move with no counter, as it lets your Pokemon use any move in the game, but it's random. To our luck, Radish only gets paralyzed and takes down Togetic, forcing Misty to use her final Pokemon, the Starmie. As much as I wish Radish could sweep the entire 6 Pokemon of Misty, it's very low, but it's done its job. Radish switches out with Spark, who takes a Water Pulse and unfortunately gets confused. I use Spark, praying I'm faster than Starmie, but then I realize I'm not, and Spark takes a Water Pulse to the face, fainting immediately. I'm sorry, Spark. But just like Kitty dying at Brock, Spark dying here gives me a free switch into the Big Rat if he's ready to end this. Rat tanks a Water Pulse and goes for a Hyper Fang, which crits and 1 hits Starmie, getting our revenge and earning us our 2nd badge. We made it past the early game beast, and now we have to make our way down to Vermilion City to fight the War General, Lieutenant Surge. On a short journey to Vermilion, we catch a Meowth and then Uzi the Seedot. We arrive at the city after crushing little kids' dreams, and now it's time to get to work. In Vermilion City, there's another one of Oak's A's that give a starter at random. But I decide to skip this one, as I have other plans. I get the good rub from a Fisher, and then I head to the shore, encountering a Tortini, which is exactly what I wanted. In my opinion, Dragonite is always a safe bring for the Elite Four, so if my run makes it there, he's definitely going to be showing up later. We head to the SSN and prepare for the rival fight. I'm not worried about this one at all, as I have a strategy. Just like last time, we lead with Yuna against Golbat, except this time, Yuna has evolved, so she's even stronger. We immediately throw out a Thunder Punch and knock out the Golbat in 1 hit, just like last time. Gramble comes in, allowing us to switch into the Rat, who takes him out along with the weak Kadabra. Finally, the Rat gets Jinx down to half health and Yuna comes in to finish it off. An easy fight. We get the move cut and then I head into Diglett's cave, encountering a Dugtrio. But we can't use it, because it's level 30 and the level caps are only 27 right now, making it illegal. That sucks. On a good note, we have a good team for Lieutenant Surge. His biggest threat is Raichu, which has a Sister Berry and good coverage moves, along with his entire team having Thunder Wave and moves like Confuse Ray and Substitute to mess you up. But I'm ready. We confront Surge and start the battle, leading Slay against Flaffy. Slay is immune to electric, so I'm free to start using a Rock Tomb, chipping his health down slowly. After some water pulses and a super potion, the tanky Flaffy eventually goes down. Chinju comes out next, and I switch to Radish, who walls it and starts using Mega Drain. After some Confused Ray and Paralysis nonsense, Chinju eventually goes down. Manectric comes out, and I have to switch because it sees a kill with Flamethrower, so I send in Slay to tank it and use some Rock Tombs to lower his speed. Finally, Rat comes in using the Dig TM I taught him, and he takes out Manectric in a single hit. Surge sends in his Raichu, and I use a Dig, taking it down to only 1 HP, proccing the Citrus Berry. But it's not enough to save him, as a Hyper Fang kills him immediately. Surge sends in Jolteon, and I send in Yuna in return. Yuna nullifies the Shockwave with Volt Absorb, and then I switch into Slugma. With a few ancient powers, Jolteon eventually goes down. Surge sends in his last Pokemon, a Magneton, who easily goes down to 2 Embers. After a deathless fight and obtaining our 3rd badge, we start the long journey to Erika. We head through Route 9, battling all the trainers easily and getting to Route 10. Here we catch the Swablu and then we head right into Rock Tunnel. We catch a Nosepass named Pinocchio and then we head on through the tunnel. As a kid, I didn't know the TM Flash existed, so it probably took me 30 hours of running around in the dark until I actually got out of the cave. Luckily, I'm not a kid anymore and I made it out pretty quickly this time, along with no deaths or problems. We head through Lavender Town to Route 8 as there's nothing for us to do there just yet. And here, we encounter an Abra, which is amazing. Psychic types were historically the best type in this generation, and Alakazam is no exception to this rule. We name him King, and we head on to Celadon City. Before we start the city, I go over to Route 7 and we catch a Shroomish. Then we get the Fly TM. Remember that rod I missed a Vermilion? I go straight there and grab it. I use the old rod we just picked up here in Vermilion to catch a Barboach. And this is perfectly fine, and I'm sure you know why. If you don't, you'll see why later. We also head back to Cerulean City and catch a Staryu, which can easily be one of the goats in the run. Starmie is extremely useful in certain fights, including the Elite Four. Now we fly back to Celadon City, and there's a lot we can do here. Of all the encounters you can get here, I decided to go to the casino and cash out on a Scyther. I believe Scyther is one of the best Pokemon you can get in this game, as it evolves into Scissor, which has a massive attack stat and good bulk, which paired with its 8 resistances, 1 immunity, and only 1 weakness, this thing can tank and kill anything in its way, including the entire Elite Four. With all our newfound encounters, I decide to head into the Rocket hideout in the casino. I make my way through the hideout and we have no problems dealing with the grunt holding the keycard. We make it to the end of the hideout, defeating 2 Team Rocket grunts and allowing us to prepare for the first Giovanni fight. His team is bulky and dangerous. With Hypnosis on Persian and his signature tanky Kangaskhan, you can always have a little trouble defeating this guy. I start the battle with a Marshtomp against Rhyhorn, knocking him out with 1 Water Pulse. Next, Vibrava comes in. He takes a lot of damage from Muddy Water, and then I send in a Raptor to dodge a dig. Raptor finishes the job with Twister, and to my surprise, Giovanni sends his ace out early. I switch to King the Kadabra. He switches into a Hypnosis and immediately falls asleep, forcing me to switch again. I switch in Yuna for free thanks to Volt Absorb, and we go band for band. I get Persian very low, and he kills himself with a double edge, but it brings Yuna to red HP, which forces me to switch out. I send out General or Scyther, and he gets to work. General shoots wing attacks at the Kingler until it falls. This forces Giovanni to bring in his Kangaskhan, so I switch in the Big Rat. Rat switches into a Big Earthquake that takes half his HP. He uses Super Fang to take Kangaskhan down to half HP, and then tanks another Earthquake living at 3 HP. I go for another Super Fang hoping it kills, but it doesn't, and Rat takes a double edge. I'm sorry, Rat. You were the GOAT in many of our battles, and I didn't mean for you to die here. An angry Slay comes in, and finishes off Kangaskhan with a Muddy Water. Lastly, Mightyana comes in, so I send in Raptor to spam Fly and finish the job. That's the first Giovanni fight down, but we have no time for breaks, because we have to go straight into Erika, who is the biggest and most annoying difficulty spike yet. This is Erika's team. If we take a look at their abilities, 4 out of 6 of them have Chlorophyll, an ability that doubles their speed in the sun. The Jumpluff has Sunny Day and is the only one on the team luckily able to set up the sun. You might be thinking, why don't we just use the sun to our advantage and bring a fire type? And you'd be correct. I originally was going to bring a fire type until my only fire type Jam died at the trainer right before Erika. It was rough. Erika's team is also full of Leech Seed, Sleep Powder, Thunder Wave, Charm, and Poison moves, so if you're not prepared for this fight, everything can go wrong. After some planning, I start the fight and lead Yuna against Victory Bell. We go for an Ice Punch, knocking Victory Bell down to low HP. He goes for a Sword Dance, giving us another free Ice Punch, knocking him out. Erika sends Ludicolo, and I go for some chip damage. Ludicolo sets up the rain, and we go back and forth until we're both at red HP. Due to Ludicolo being faster because of Swift Swim, I have to switch out. I send in King and use a Tri Attack on the now full HP Ludicolo, and it gets a Paralyze off. Next I send in Watermelon and we see the immediate effect of the Paralyze, letting us switch in with no damage. After 2 Poison Fangs, Ludicolo goes down, and in comes Jumpluff, who uses a Sleep Powder, but we have a Chesta Berry, immediately waking us up. We go for some damage, but Jumpluff uses Sleep Powder again, forcing us to switch out into General. I watch as he sets up the Sun, making her and her entire team faster than us. After another Chesta Berry being used, we use a Wing Attack and we knock out the Jumpluff, but the Sun is up and I have no way of getting rid of it. Blissey comes out, who can be very annoying to get rid of because of its natural bulk and leftovers. So he paralyzes us and I have to find a new strategy here. I switch in Uzi. Uzi uses Leech Seed, which is all he was here for, and now I have to stall at the Blissey. After some back and forth, I send in Watermelon, who gets slept immediately, but then wakes up in one turn. After he lowers Blissey's health to low, Watermelon gets frozen, but then wakes up again on one turn, knocking out Blissey. The raid boss is down and in comes Bellossom. Watermelon walls her and takes her out after 3 Poison Fangs, also making Erika waste her full heal. Erika's last Pokemon Voluplume comes out and I send in Goat, who I pre-burnt for 2 reasons. 1, he has Guts, making his attack double. And 2, he's now immune to Sleep Powder because he can't be affected by 2 status conditions, making Voluplume's Sleep Powder fail. We take it down with 2 Aerial Aces and we beat Erika deathless. I'm very happy after this. I have a solid run going and I felt like I was undefeatable. But little did I know how scary things would get. After Erika, we level up our Pokemon, finally getting our Caesar, Starmie, and Alakazam, which are all big power spikes. With our fully evolved team, we head back to Lavender Town, ready to climb the tower. We head up the tower and meet our rival, who I'm hoping will be as easy as last time. We start the battle with a classic matchup, Electabuzz vs Golbat, and you already know what happens by now. After taking out the Golbat in one hit, he sends in Flaffy, and I use an Ice Punch. This turns out to be a critical hit and brings Flaffy down to low HP. Another Ice Punch goes out and Flaffy goes down, bringing in Houndoom. I send in our newly evolved Swampert as Houndoom sets up the Sun. Not thinking too much of it, I use a Water Pulse and he uses Solar Beam. Completely forgot he had Solar Beam, and Swampert goes down in one hit. This is awful. Trying to figure out a solution to this Houndoom, I send in our Guts Goat and use an Aerial Ace. But unfortunately it doesn't kill, and a Sun boosted Flamethrower shoots at the Swellow. Swellow falls and I just lost 2 Pokemon back to back, so I have to go for a quick attack to finally finish the Houndoom off, but we still have 2 Pokemon left. This isn't over yet. Gary sends a Kadabra, so I switch to General after paralyzing it, using Fairy Cutters to take it down. Lastly is Jinx, who goes head to head with Stargirl and eventually falls, nearly losing me another Pokemon. In the end I won, but we lost our Swampert, who would have been a big help for this run. I have to make sure I don't make any mistakes like that again, or we're going to lose a lot more Pokemon. We continue up the tower and we catch a Shuppet named Casper. By the way, if you made it this far into the video, please consider giving the channel a like and subscribe. And if you want to name Pokemon in my runs and support me even further, please check out my Patreon. It really helps a lot. We get to the top of the tower and we sweep a bunch of Team Rocket members, saving Mr. Fuji and getting the Pokeflute. This opens up a lot of new encounters and we start right away by going below Lavender Town and we catch a Magikarp. This is why I was happy to catch the Barboach earlier, because it guaranteed us a Magikarp, which guarantees us Gyarados. Next we use the Pokeflute and we catch the Snorlax without too much trouble. We then head down the biker route, catching a Dodeo, and at Route 18 we catch a Pharaoh. We reach Fuchsia City, and in Fire Red Omega you can get the Lapras here. We immediately get it, and this is an important member of our team. If we keep it alive, I guarantee you it's going to be a good Elite Four bring. We go into the Safari Zone and we encounter a Smeargle, but after throwing 5 balls at it, it still runs away, and we miss our encounter here. It's unfortunate, but after the Safari Zone, it's time for Koga. Koga's team can be very dangerous, as it has 2 Mons with Explosion, a Venomoth with Sleep Powder, Toxic and Sludge Bomb and several Pokemon, and then the signature Crobat, which can easily sweep your team as it has plus speed and a strong attack. We lead Alakazam into Weezing, and I go for a Calm Mind, praying I dodge a crit. And I do. One hit KOing Weezing with Psychic, and Venomoth gets sent in. I go for another Psychic, one hit KOing the Venomoth as well, making Koga bring in his ace Crobat. I send in our Snorlax. Crobat confuses Snorlax, but Snorlax does not care, as he uses a Body Slam and gets a big crit on Crobat, bringing him down to red HP. Koga uses a Super Potion and 3 Big Mac breaks out of confusion, going for a Body Slam and getting another crit, and a Paralyze. He's the GOAT. One more Body Slam takes out Crobat and the demon is down. In comes the Tank Fortress, who I sleep and then I send in Uzi. Uzi uses his Leech Seed on the Fortress and then I switch in Yuna, who uses a Fire Punch on the still sleeping Fortress and then takes it out in one hit. Koga sends in Tentacruel and I use a Thunderbolt, hoping it will take it out. But my life flashes before my eyes as I see Miracle come out, returning double damage back to me. And Yuna faints in one hit. We just lost our starter, and my girlfriend's gonna kill me because Yuna is the name of her cat. I send Uzi back in to finish off Tentacruel, and Koga sends in his last Pokemon. Uzi takes it out quickly, defeating Koga. but we lost our starter. With the battles getting harder and harder, I can't keep losing important Pokemon. First Swampert and now Electabuzz. We have to lock in. After Koga, I set out for Cinnabar Island, catching a Horsey and a Mr. Mime along the way. These are two amazing Pokemon that can both be brought to the Elite Four. Kinger has amazing stats and is only weak to Dragon, and Mr. Mime is an underrated Psychic Pokemon that's also very bulky and can sweep teams. I save my encounters at Cinnabar for now, and we head into Saffron City, where the real battles begin. We make our way through Silphco, getting the keycard, and then we encounter our rival once again. Gary has most of the same team as last time, but we have to prepare, as he took 2 of our Pokemon last time. I think for a little bit, and then I go right in. We lead Lapras against Crobat, easily taking him out in 2 Ice Beams. Houndoom comes in, and we use a Surf, getting him to red HP. I don't want Lapras to die, so I switch to Gyarados to be safe. I go for a Dragon Dance while he spams Reversal into me, and then go 2 more as he keeps wasting turns on Endure. We kill Houndoom, and Ampharos comes in. Now I'm gonna be honest, I had a +6 Dragon Dance Gyarados, and for some reason, I thought Crunch would do some decent damage or flinch. I don't know why I left Gyarados in here. And Crunch does the littlest damage I've ever seen in my life, and Gyarados goes down to a Thunderbolt. Like I said, I'm not Pichu. We lose our Gyarados to a rookie mistake, and I have to switch in the next Pokemon. In comes Snorlax, and I take him out with 2 Body Slams. Gary sends his Alakazam next, who goes down to 1 Body Slam as well, and then General comes in to finish off Jinx with a Fury Cutter. We get our cast form in this game instead of a Lapras here, and next is Giovanni. This Giovanni team is much scarier than the last one. Houndoom and Persian return even stronger than before, and he now has a Choice Band Nidoking, along with a Cloyster with Explosion, and a Flygon and Rhydon with amazing coverage moves. I prepare my team and we head in, leading Kindra against Houndoom. Kindra goes for a Surf, knocking Houndoom to red HP. After taking a hit, he goes for another one and the Houndoom is down. Next, a Flygon with Dragon Call comes in, forcing me to switch out to Lapras. Lapras tanks 2 hits and then goes for an Ice Beam, knocking the Flygon out in 1 hit. Next, Rhydon comes in, looks much scarier than he actually is as he goes down to 1 Surf. Nidoking comes in, and I use another Surf, bringing Nido down to 1 HP. I switch in General to finish the job, but he gets paralyzed in return, making things a little scary. Cloyster comes in next, and I switch in Mr. Mime, who tanks a Surf. But I have a problem. Remember I said Cloyster has Explosion? He can use it completely randomly at any time, especially when he doesn't see a kill. I don't want Mr. Mime to die, so I switch in Snorlax hoping he can tank a possible Explosion. And it's exactly what Cloyster used. 3 Big Max Giant 241 health bar goes slowly and slowly down until I watch it hit 0. This is a terrible loss. Snorlax was an amazing Elite Four bring and I was planning on bringing him as he could tank so much, but sadly, not this time Snorlax. We bring in Alakazam and he sends in Persian. I know he's probably going to go for a Hypnosis, so I send in Scissor, who's completely immune. After a Furry Swipe, General goes down really low and he's still paralyzed. I realize I have no easy way to kill this cat. I make a switch to Mr. Mime, but he uses Shadow Ball and Mr. Mime falls as well. I'm panicking as I could easily wipe here. I send in Lapras, who I need to tank this double edge or I'm probably wiping here. It hits and he lives on 2 HP. Lapras uses a Surf in return, getting him very low, and I switch in King. King gets hit by a Hypnosis on switch in, but he has a Chesto Berry, so he wakes right up and then knocks out the Persian. Defeating Giovanni. That was really scary. But this split is not over yet. We still have Sabrina. Now Sabrina's team on paper looks very scary. This is where I would normally tell you about the horrors of Alakazam, Gengar, Gardevoir, but I'm not worried this time. I'm 100% confident. We make our way to Sabrina quickly, and we lead it with our ace card, the General, Scissor. Mr. Mime has 0 attack and moves, meaning he had no way of killing Scissor here even if he wanted to. And this means I can go for as many sword dances as I want. So of course, I go for the max 6 stacks and you already know what happens next. An easy fight after Giovanni, which is exactly what we wanted. Now, back to Cinnabar Island. We head to the mansion we skipped and we get a Growlithe, which I'm very happy about because since Slugma died, this is our only fire type we have and we needed one desperately. Arcanine has good speed, attack, and bulk, so we're definitely going to consider him for the Elite Four. But now as there's nothing else for us to do, we finish the mansion up and then we head to Blaine. Blaine has a pretty scary attacking team, but our Lapras and our Starmie can definitely take them on if we handle this right. We also have a Kinder to protect our other water Pokemon, but we have to be safe. Therefore, his 2 scariest Pokemon for us are the Blaziken and Magmar, which both have Thunder Punch. Typhlosion has it too, but he's slower, so we should be fine. Lapras leads against Arcanine, and uses a Surf to take him down to red HP. A super potion is used and then a rest, and after multiple surfs, the tanky Arcanine finally goes down. Our Lapras is now wounded though, so I have to switch him out for Starmie, who tanks a Rock Slide. Starmie uses Surf next, taking out the Solrock in a single hit, and Blaziken comes in. He can easily take out Starmie with a Thunder Punch, so we have to switch. Remember the Dratini we got? He finally debuts as a Dragonite. We go for a Dragon Dance as we're completely safe here and extreme speed him to death. Ninetales comes in next and goes down to half HP, but she puts us to sleep, so I switch to Kindra. Kindra takes her down thanks to a crit on our Surf, and in comes Typhlosion. A couple of Surfs take him down as he rests, and Super Potions along with a full heal, bringing in Blaine's last Pokemon, a Magmar. Magmar suffers the same fate, giving us an easy win for the Fire Gym. One more gym to go and only a few fights left. We can do it. Giovanni's team is full of big, hard hitters. Flygon is there to set up a sandstorm, while the rest of his Pokemon are there to annoy you and sweep you. His biggest threat is his level 63 Tyranitar, who has Rock Slime, Hyper Beam, and Dragon Dance to buff himself. There's also Destiny Bond shenanigans with Cacturne, and Persian has Hypnosis just like before. Let's get right into it. We start with Lapras against Flygon, using an Ice Beam to take Flygon out after he sets up a Sandstorm. Rhydon comes in next, and just like last fight with Giovanni, one Surf takes him out. Tyranitar makes his way onto the field next, lowering Lapras to very low HP with a Rock Slide. We get the T-Tar to yellow HP and then switch out to Kindra, who takes him out with the Surf. Giovanni sends out his Cacturne next. Kindra goes for some chip damage and then switches out to General after getting confused. Scizor buffs himself with Swords Dance but misses his Silver Wind. Next turn he breaks through confusion and finally hits it, knocking out the Cacturne in a single hit. Swampert comes in next and I go for a Silver Wind again to try to kill it, but it moves first. He uses a Hydro Pump and my Scizor goes down. I failed to realize before the fight that the Swampert was a timid nature, meaning it was plus speed and that's why it was faster. Losing Scizor here is terrible for me, as there's only a few encounters after this, and I was definitely going to bring him to the Elite Four. I'm devastated. I swap in Uzi to fill in for the loss, who takes out Swampert in a single Leaf Blade and brings in Persian. We Leech Seed it and switch into Starmie, who switches into Hypnosis, but we wake up because of our berry. Thanks to Leech Seed up, we secure an easy kill after a Surf, defeating Giovanni for the last time. With all 8 gym badges completed, we're on our way to the champion. Will all the losses of our Pokemon be really worth it in the end? I sure hope they are. Before Victory Road, there's a last rival fight before the Elite Four. To summarize this one, Lapras one-shots Crobat and Venusaur with an Ice Beam. Our Dragonite comes in and cleans up the rest of the team, with Arcanine finishing up Jinx in the end. I don't want to go too much detail into this fight because as you know, we will fight the rival one last time later. After some hidden machine hunting, we enter Victory Road, catching our last encounter of the game, a Makuhita. We do all the puzzles flawlessly here, dodging every trainer and finally reaching the Indigo League. It's time for the finale, the scariest part of the run. If a Pokemon dies at the Elite Four, you cannot revive it or replace it in between fights. But before we enter, let me introduce our team. First is Baby the Lapras, the true MVP of this run so far. She can switch into many enemies safely and deal great damage, and her typing is very helpful for all of the Elite Four members. Next is Starmie, who if positioned right can be amazing against Agatha, Bruno, and anything with an ice weakness. Arcanine is the one fire type we got the entire run, and we needed it. With his great stats, he can certainly help us get an advantage and make us feel safer with his fire coverage. Alakazam is the premier psychic sweeper of our team. If positioned correctly, he can set up and take down multiple Pokemon. Dragonite had been bent as a Dratini for most of the run, but now is his time to finally shine. His great bulk and move pool can save us in many fights. Never underestimate a Dragonite in the Elite Four. And lastly is Kingdra, another dragon who has solid stats and typing. He can help us sweep and take down certain Pokemons we might not be able to otherwise. With the team ready, I get ready for the final gauntlet and push in, staring Lorelei in the eyes. Lorelei's team is full of bulky water and ice Pokemon that can slowly kill your team. Her biggest threat is her Lapras, which hits hard and has leftovers, so if you don't have a strategy, it can sit on the field and harm you immensely. We start the Elite Four and lead Starmie against Dugong. A Thunderbolt takes Dugong down to half HP, and another one secures the kill. Lorelei sends in her signature Lapras next, and the two Pokemon trade Thunderbolts. Due to Starmie being at half HP, I know the next Thunderbolt is almost sure to kill, so I switch out into Dragonite to tank the hit. Dragonite gets paralyzed, but despite this, I know 100% Lapras is going to use an Ice Beam as it sees a kill, so I use this opportunity to switch in Lapras, who practically takes no damage. Now, my plan to take down this nightmare of a Lapras begins with a Toxic. My Lapras has leftovers to help with Toxic stalls, so after stalling with some Surfs, my Lapras gets low and I switch in Alakazam. The enemy Lapras finally falls due to the poison damage becoming too much, combined with the Psychic from Alakazam. That's 2 Pokemon down. Slowbro comes in next, and we switch back in Starmie. We take a Yawn and switch right out to Kindra, who gets hit by yet another Yawn, and we play the switch game again, going back to Starmie. Starmie then Thunderbolts the Slowbro to death, making Lorelei waste a full heal. Wigglytuff comes in, and I switch back in Lapras. We go for the same Toxic play we did before. Wigglytuff uses Parashong, but we kill it after 2 turns of Ice Beams and the poison, bringing in the Milotic next. Lapras' Paras counter is at 1, so I have to switch it out now so it doesn't die. I switch in Kindra for a turn, and then switch it right back out for Lapras. Lapras goes into an Attract, but fails as they are the same gender. Is Pokemon implying something? We shoot a Toxic at the Milotic, and then we stall it down to red HP. Lorelei uses a full potion, making us do the entire process again. Milotic finally goes down, sending in her Walrein next. Thanks to Walrein being Lorelei's last Pokemon, a much faster way to kill this one is to go for a Parashong of my own. Walrein cannot kill Lapras anywhere near in time, nor switch, and when the Paras counter drops to 1, Lapras switches out as the Walrein faints. We finish a very long but deathless fight. Bruno is next. Bruno's team is full of dangerous hard hitters that are also very bulky, aiming to kill you very fast. His ace is a Guts Machamp with a black belt and a rash nature, making him hit extremely hard. We plan for a little bit, and then we start the second challenge of the Elite Four. Bruno leads Steelix against our Starmie, dying to a single quick Surf. Donphan comes in next and suffers the same exact fate, bringing in an Armaldo. Starmie knocks him out with a Surf as well, absolutely carrying this fight. The Ace comes in and we go for another Surf, but this time it doesn't one-hit kill. We continue to spam Surf, bringing him to red HP and forcing out a Super Potion. After enough Surfs, I switch in Kindra to an Earthquake and of course it crits. I switch in Lapras next, but I didn't realize he would go for a Cross Chop and it nearly kills Lapras. We are lucky Lapras did not die there. I think a bit, and I make a hard decision. I switch back into Starmie. Starmie goes for a Surf, but it doesn't kill and she goes down. She was an absolute menace this fight, and it would be tough not having her for the rest of the Elite Four, but we have to continue. Starmie's death gives a free switch in for Alakazam, who finally takes out the Machamp. Poliwrath makes his way in, but we don't care, as Psychic is super effective and one-shots him. Lastly is Hitmontop, who uses a Sturry to live a single Psychic, but falls to the second, winning us the fight. We lost our Starmie this battle, so things will only get harder from here. But surely, I'll be extremely careful and make sure we don't lose any other important Pokemon. Right? The third of the 4 is next, and if I have to define the next Elite Four team in a single word, it would be tricky. Agatha's team is full of moves like Parasong, Hypnosis to put your Pokemon to sleep, Toxic, 2 Destiny Bond Pokemon along with Will-O-Wisp. Basically, any status condition possible is on her team. Anything can go wrong at any moment. I do the best I can to try to prepare against this, and then we start the battle against a Ghost Elite Four member. We lead our Alakazam against her Shedinja, and take it down immediately with the Shadow Ball. Keep in mind, at the start of the battle it shows that all my Pokemon are healed and healthy, but that's because I use a quality of life feature that auto heals all my Pokemon after any battle. So even though Starmie is fully healed, I'm not allowed to use her or any dead Pokemon for the rest of the Elite Four. Crobat comes in next, using a Confuse Ray on Alakazam. Alakazam falls for the confusion and barely lives a Shadow Ball on 3 HP. Coming in clutch, I switch him out for our Lapras. Lapras falls asleep from a Hypnosis and we get confused. Crobat continues to be very annoying as we don't wake up in time and he lowers us down with Sludge Bombs. We finally wake up on the max wake up turn, but then Lapras hits himself for confusion. With Lapras getting way too low for my liking and still being confused, I switch him out for Kingdra. Crobat's antics don't end as he immediately uses Hypnosis and Confuse Ray on the Kingdra, even getting a critical Sludge Bomb hit the next turn. But Kingdra wakes up and breaks the confusion, finally getting an Aurora Beam off. It doesn't knock the Crobat out, but next turn Hypnosis misses, and Kingdra gets the kill, finally getting rid of this annoying Crobat. Sableye comes in next, so I send an Arcanine to match him. We go for a Crunch and then a Flamethrower, taking him out much faster than we did with Crobat. Mischievous comes in, but Arcanine shoots 2 Flamethrowers at her, taking her down, showing why Arcanine is on this Elite Four team. Hypno is next. We use a Flamethrower and then lose our berry due to Hypnosis, and I switch in Dragonite. We use a Wing Attack and then 2 Dragon Dances, buffing ourselves for the kill. Agatha's final Pokemon, Gengar, comes in, and he has Ice Punch which could kill Dragonite, so we have to switch. I switch to Lapras to tank the Ice Punch and then to Kingdra to tank the guaranteed Thunderbolt. I try to go for a Surf, but Gengar is way faster than Kingdra, and the Ice Punch kills. Another Pokemon down. We send in our 3 HP Alakazam, who I know outspeeds Gengar, and use a Psychic to take him down and win the fight. We win, but we're down 2 Pokemon. With only 4 Pokemon left, these fights are going to get much harder. Lance is next, and I look at his team sheet, and I struggle to find a single safe solution to this battle. For the first time in the run, I'm genuinely scared of wiping. Lance's team is full of very strong dragon Pokemon that can all wipe your team. He has 2 Dragonites that both have different movesets, but our main problem, since we've lost both Kindra and Starmie, is we have no answer to Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl has a Choice Band, Brave Nature, and knows Rock Slide, which can one-hit kill every single Pokemon we have left alive on Switch In, except Alakazam. The problem is, Alakazam cannot kill Aerodactyl in one hit. He needs 2 hits minimum to kill. Alakazam will die to 2 Rock Slides, meaning the only way I can win against Lance's Aerodactyl is if I have Alakazam go up against him at full HP and he gets 2 successful hits off. And this is only considering Aerodactyl because there's still the rest of Lance's team. I think for a long time, and go into the fight with a plan. This could easily fail with any bad luck and our run could end here, but we have to believe. I start the fight with Lapras against Salamence, and we use an Ice Beam to one-hit kill him and get him out of the way. But in comes the terrifying Aerodactyl. The only way I saw to get Alakazam in safely was to risk a Pokemon, and the only Pokemon I can use this strategy with was our Arcanine. He comes into the Rock Slide and falls to 0 HP instantly. It was a critical hit. But Arcanine, you were the key variable allowing us to win this fight, and you didn't even have to use a move. Alakazam comes in at full HP, and we go for a Psychic, leaving the Rock Slide, letting us kill the beast with a second Psychic. He's gone. Gyarados comes in and I send in Dragonite to deal with him. But instead of attacking Gyarados, I go for a Dragon Dance until I get taunted. I go for an Extreme Speed, and that gets taunted too, so next turn I go for the Wing Attack to kill. Next turn Lance sends in one of his own 2 Dragonites, but it's the Ace. This Dragonite has Substitute, and goes for it after my first Extreme Speed brings him down to half HP. We break the Substitute with another Extreme Speed, but he hits us with an Ice Beam, nearly killing our own Dragonite and almost ending the run here. We are paralyzed. If my Dragonite doesn't hit Extreme Speed here, we lose everything. My team will wipe, the run will be over, and this will all be for nothing. It has to hit. I click it, and it hits, knocking out the enemy Dragonite. Lance still has 2 more Pokemon, but it's okay, as Lapras is free to clean up the fight as this Dragonite doesn't have Thunderbolt like the last one did. One Ice Beam kills it. Lance's last Pokemon Charizard comes in. Thanks to his Dragonite setting up the rain for me and Charizard using a Belly Drum to lower his HP, a rain boosted Surf 1000% secures the fight. I'm sweating. That was by far the scariest battle of the entire run. But it's not over yet. Now, we're only left with 3 Pokemon. Is it even possible to beat the champion at this point? We have to look at his final team. Champion Gary's team is the best version of his team yet, which is terrible for his situation. A Choice Band Heracross with Rock Slide destroys our Lapras and Dragonite. Metagross also has a Rock Slide as well. Ampharos and Venusaur are also threats to Lapras, and the Ice Beam signature Jinx with Lovely Kiss can always make things hectic. But we can't give up here, as we only need 1 Pokemon in the end standing to win it all. I think it all over and go into the very last battle of the game. It's all or nothing. We lead Dragonite against Heracross. We need Wing Attack to kill here or we will lose Dragonite to a Rock Slide, which will cost us the run. It hits and it gets the high roll, getting rid of Heracross. We are in this. Jinx comes in next, and I send in Lapras to take the Ice Beam that would have killed the Dragonite. I go for a Toxic. It's the only way left to kill this Jinx. She puts us to sleep, but it doesn't matter. I just need this poison to kill her. Jinx goes for a Psycho Boost, doing massive damage to her Lapras. But Lapras lives, and her special attack goes down by 2 stages. She goes for one more Psycho Boost and takes out her Lapras, lowering her special attack even more. But Lapras did his job all game. He was the true MVP of the run, and we can win this because of him. I send in King the Alakazam, who sets up with a Calm Mind as I know Gary will use a full restore. We use a Shadow Ball to take her down to half HP, and she uses a Calm Mind of her own. I go for another Calm Mind as I know her damage is so low it can't do anything to us. Jinx uses Ice Beam and it tickles us, and she goes down to another Shadow Ball. Ampharos comes in. We use a Psychic into him, but it's barely not enough to kill him as he goes down to 1 HP. He Tail Glows, raising his special attack massively. I go for another Psychic as Gary uses a full restore, and this one kills, getting rid of what could have been a nightmare to deal with. 3 more Pokemon to go. Houndoom comes in, and I go for a Taunt to prevent a Will-O-Wisp. Houndoom does a lot of damage to us with a Crunch, and Alakazam shoots one last Shadow Ball at the enemy before falling to a second Crunch. We're on our last Pokemon now. The Dragonite I picked over the starters in Vermilion City. Was it really worth it? In my eyes, I don't regret it at all. Houndoom uses a Crunch, and we go for a Dragon Dance in his face. We use another, watching him go for a second Crunch. We're getting low, but I don't care. I go for one more Dragon Dance, praying we don't get crit. His third crunch hits, and we live. It's time to attack. We go for an Earthquake, sweeping the Houndoom off the face of Kanto. Gary sends in Metagross, and Dragonite goes for another Earthquake, taking it out in a single hit thanks to all of our buffs. Gary's last Pokemon, the Venusaur, comes out. Both down to our last Pokemon. Venusaur has zero answer to my Dragonite, who is faster and stronger. I use a Wing Attack, and his health bar goes down lower and lower and lower until it reaches 0. We did it, with one Pokemon left. Wow. We're now the champion with Kanto, and we beat our Fire Red Omega Nuzlocke. What a ride. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Nuzlockes are special, and they can be very challenging but rewarding. I highly encourage you to go try one of your own, but be aware that anything can happen in it and you're going to feel a lot of emotions. If you liked this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment on what your first Nuzlocke was or what you think I should do in the future. Also check out my Patreon in the description. These videos take a while to make, and it really helps a lot if you support me there. There would definitely be more Nuzlocke content in the future, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching.